Hello, good evening, and welcome. We're going to be learning, as we're continuing today, the story of the wise man and the simpleton. Sophisticated wisdom, simpleton. Um, First off, let me just bring up the text. We have we have read so far the story of the sophisticate, and now we are going to the simpleton. Now let us leave aside the story of the clever one and begin the tale of the simple one. The simple one learned to be a shoemaker. Since he was simple, he studied hard until he got it. Still, he was not completely expert in his craft. He married a wife and made a living from his work. Since he was simple and not so proficient in his work, he had a lot of pressure in earning a living. He didn't even have time to eat. He was always working since he couldn't do the job perfectly. While he would work, when while he would work, he would then pierce with the awl and insert and remove thick sewing thread, as shoemakers do. He would bite off a piece of bread and eat. It was that his way was always to be very, very happy. And he had every type of food and drink and clothing. This is one of the most famous uh, sentences in the lore, as it were, of Rabbeinu. And his way that he was always happy, uminhaga yehoya, and his minhag was shehoya b'tamid b'simcha. We're finding here that he couldn't really do his job that well, and to the point that when he had to eat, he had to work all the time, and when he had to eat, he would bite a piece of bread. And his minhag was minhago yehoya shehaya tamid b'simcha. The important thing here to learn is that it was his minhag, it was his habit, it was his way of doing things. Now this particular way of putting things is very counterintuitive, especially to people. I mean, always, but especially to people in our day and time. We understand and perceive being happy as a result of good tidings. And rightfully so. I mean, rightfully so. When there's a simcha, there's a simcha. When Terry says that a person must give thanks for bad tidings as well as good ones, the same way, the same kind of simcha, the same kind of thing, means that obviously that it's a challenge. It's not something that comes naturally. What comes naturally is that when you hear good news, you go yippee ki wow, that's amazing, okay? And when things don't go my way, I go moping around. I make faces as if or maybe make the right noises, but the tachlis is that uh, I'm not that happy. And here Rabbeinu says, "Umin hagoy hoya." His conduct was that he was always besimcha. It's a very, very particular diuk. It was his conduct. We learned in Terech of Beis, we learned that Nasa v'nishma, in Aliyas and Yeridas, constitutes v'simchas olam al roisham, and eternal joy is upon their heads. It says that when Am Yisrael got the Torah, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu, what to give him the Torah, and it says, sorry about that. Am Yisrael said, Nasa v'nishma. Everything Hashem is going to say, Nasa v'nishma, whatever. Hashem says, we are going to do it. This is obviously was our finest hour, without any doubt. I mean, you can say either this, or you can see that when we came out from Mitzrayim, because Baruch Hu says, your finest hour is, as Yirmiyahu says, Zacharti lachesed neoraich, I remember the grace of your youth. Lechtech achorei b'midbar, following me into the desert. He didn't say how we're going to find food to eat or whatever it is. It's this week's parsha, right? We didn't say where we're going to have food to eat, whatever it is. The Kadosh Baruch Hu says go, we went. So the Gemara says that Am Yisrael said, I remember Zacharti lachesed neoraich, lech techachor b'midbar, going after me in the desert. And when Am Yisrael says Kol asher yomar Hashem nasa v'nishmo, when they say nasa v'nishmo, Malachei Hasharis are the four biggest ones. This is Michal, this is Gavriel, this is Raphael. The four Malachim, they are the highest. They are so great that even their foot cannot get into Olam Yetzirah. They came down and they put a crown, 2 crowns, on the head of every single Jew that stood there, which is all of us, Lamaisa, because our Neshomas were there. One crown Keneged Nasmid, the other one's Keneged Nishma. Says the Gemara, when Am Yisrael faltered in the sin of the golden calf, those crowns were taken away. And the Gemara says, and the Rebbeinu mentions this in Terech of Beis, also the Kadosh Baruch Hu lachzir lana, Kadosh Baruch Hu in the future will return those crowns to us. Sheneemar v'simchas olam al reishon, and eternal joy is upon the heads. What is upon the head of a person? It's a keser, that's the crown. Before we said there are 2 ksarim, there are 2 crowns, one keneged nasa, one keneged nishmo. Now we say the simchas olam al roisha means like one thing, one joy, that is comprised of both nasa and nishma. And Rabbeinu said that the between the nasa and the nishma, whenever it is that you want to go to a higher madrega, to a higher level, you absolutely must go through Yerida. You have to go through a slump before you're going higher. And at that particular point in time, uh, it is obviously a lot harder to be besimcha. Nevertheless, the simchas olam al reisham is a simcha that combines both the nasa and the nishma, both the times of up and the times of down, which means it's a kind of simcha which is not. It's not a ahava tluya badover. It's not a love that is a result of a cause. That being that person is nice to me, or being that I get some, whatever it is, therefore, or being that person makes me feel good, therefore, but simchas olam harosha means a simcha which is eternal. Eternal doesn't necessarily mean, something. Listen, in the future, when you guys, when I will come and redeem you, then you will have an eternal joy upon your hand. That's not what it says. It says, the meaning of eternal doesn't just means that it doesn't have an end. It also means it has no beginning. Infinity is something that has not just doesn't have any end, doesn't have a beginning. It means that it is always here. That simcha, the simchas olam, is right now, it's right here. So what does it depend on? It depends on what is your conduct. What is your minhag? Am I addicted to feeling good? And obviously I am. And therefore when things don't go my way, I mope around. And when things go my way, well, wow, man, that is unbelievable. All right. So the kind of das in which, I won't even notice between, when things go my way, things don't go my way. When I realize the Yerida and the Aliyah are all part of one thing. At that point in time, it won't be an Nisayon. Simchas Olam Al Rosham. Okay. But the Simcha is already here. And that is all this is encapsulated in this little shtickle Rabbeinu says. He couldn't learn the profession very well. He learned it. It took him a long time. He really couldn't get it very well. And he was busy with his parnasa all the time, until he didn't even have time to eat. And when he would put in when he would saw the leather, in between he would take a bite of bread. That picture that Rabbeinu paints to us is, listen, I'm no Talmid Chacham. I'm not Talmid Chacham, and I'm definitely not a tzaddik. Okay. It's not the end of the world. Being able to accept that I am the way I am usually is a cause for being upset. Why am I not the way I'm supposed to be? Why am I not the way that I think that I'm supposed to be? Why is my deliverance not coming to me my way. And the actual thought that comes into a person's mind when you tell them, listen, you ought to be happy to be who you are the way you are, that the feeling is that what you're actually doing to me is you are taking away my my ambition. Okay, if I'm happy the way I am, then why bother? Which is a fallacy, really, because how long have I been unhappy about the way I am? Well, always. Well, how much good did it ever do to me? I mean, how can you say that? At least I wasn't happy about the way I am, so I always had the impetus to try to become better. But the truth is, had I been happy about the way I am, I would have been way ahead of the game. Because chut, that string that he ties, that he saw the shoe, the leather. The Baruch Hu says that anybody who wakes up chatzos and learns Torah, Kadosh Baruch Hu strings upon him chut shel chesed, a yarn of chesed. It's because Ein Bet is Gematria Chesed. In other words, when a person's avodah is in such tmimus that I'm good, I'm less good, I'm not that good, whatever, it's okay. And you're doing your avodah with such tmimus, you're zocher to be misaken a lot. You're zocher to rectify tremendous amount. Chanoich, the famous Chanoich, that he and Eliyahu Navi are the only ones who actually went up to Shamayim with their bodies. In other words, they were totally, they finished everything the way it's supposed to be done in this world, so there's no need to die even. It says, in Midrash Talpiyah says, Chanoch Teufer Na'alayim Hoya. Chanoch used to sew shoes on every single tefillah, every single he would miyachad the name of Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the Magid, the Malach that came to learn with Rabbi Yosef Karo. He explained to him, this is Magid Meishor in Parshas Miketz, what does it mean that Chanoich on every single, every time that he would saw, he was miyachad in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says every single time that he would put the needle in, he would thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He would thank and praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, that sounds very admirable. So, what does it say about the fact that he had no time, and between one sewing and another, he would bite off and eat a piece of bread. The bread is the ultimate euphemism for emunah. Lo yitzeh lechem min haaretz. in the middle of the hard, heavy, unsuccessful, as it were, avodah, he put in an achila, an eating. In other words, he would grab onto Emunah and get chayas from it. Baruch Hashem, I'm sowing. Baruch Hashem, I'm giving Kodesh Baruch Hu some nachas ruach. Biting the bread, you can say it's euphemism for learning Torah and not really getting it. Working hard at it, finally getting it or finally not getting it, but putting the effort, leading Torah koyach. There's a biting the bread, you go and fight with my bread, this is the Torah. This is the Yigiyas Torah. In other words, his job as a shoemaker was very difficult. It prevented him from learning Torah the way he wanted. He was only able to learn in between sewing, in between here and there. He was able to buy a piece of Torah. Between running errands, between going to doctors, between doing all these things, between getting out of depressions, bad moods. Right now, I'm not in the mood. I'm having the downtime right now. And I'm expecting, and I would like everybody to please respect this. I mean, come on. Okay. It's also an obstacle. Just objective obstacles are obstacles. Subjective obstacles are not. Yes, they are. I may be a little depressive, and whatever it is that I might be, but that's the way I am. These are my obstacles. In between this and this, I learn a little Torah. I open up something and he accepted everything. He accepted everything. He was a b'tachlis simcha. He accepted absolutely everything with love. Because Baruch Hu is the king. He's leading me on the straight and narrow. He's leading me the way that I'm supposed to be led. It's all good. As we said, the eating of minhag. Minhag means that there is no seichel in it. It's a routine conduct that may have no rhyme or reason behind it. That's the way that's your minhag. That's the way that you behave. In other words, the tam, which means that's something that we need to do, has constructed for himself a kviyas, a minhag, to always be b'simcha. He would not let the chokhmah and the understanding and the what ifs, and what if and what and but and what and this, what and that, to pull him down to sorrow and to depression and to bitterness. The chokhmah needs a reason to be b'simcha. The tam, he has a minhag. That's my minhag. It's my custom. The tam b'simcha. Without having to question what should I be b'simcha about. Now, enachinami that it's something that you have to work on. Even when they tell you, look at what you're doing, it's not, it doesn't really come out as good as you think, right? It's not really, the height of all success. So, building the minhag to be b'simcha, building the kviyas to be b'simcha, you need to remind yourself that right now you're doing the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu or right now you are staying away from doing something which is against the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Even a little bit, even a little bit. You know, it really is an endless limud that I heard Rabbi Akiva Shechter say, you know, many years ago. He says everybody knows that a bad thought is a bad thing, but people forget that a good thought is a good thing, and that your avodas Hashem is seesawing on I don't know, on seconds. I don't know, nanoseconds, but definitely on seconds. You ever thought like this and you ever thought like that, and you have an experience like this, you have an experience like that, and you do this and you do that, and you look and you don't look, and you read whatever it is that, and within that micro reality were thoughts sort of like roll one upon the other, and one thing leads to another, and you know, first I think about this, and then I think about that. That leads me to this, and that leads me to that, and I'm thinking about this, and then I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about that. And usually it's sort of like spiraled down into a certain kind of a core of where my fears are, or whatever it is that things are at. And within that kind of jamming, of free flow jamming, of thinking, the mitzvahs and averas all the time. And you're flipping from one thing to the next. You know, one's kosher, one's treif, one's asur, one's mutter. You know, once it's mitzvah, once it's an avera. And it's so fluid that we just let it slip away. And the idea is, when I catch that string, that flow of thought inside my mind, you know, these funny things that are going back and forth in my brain kind of thing, you know, these cold thoughts, and I catch the good one, or I catch a bad one and say, no, I'm going to think something else. I'm not going to think that. And it's gone. You know, a split second later, it's no longer there. Avodas Hashem is in there. It's not just overall going to shul. It's the in-between. Lirgaim tivchanenu. You'll test us from 1 minute to the next, from 1 second to the next. All those avodas Hashem, all the bad ones are averas. There's bad stuff, and bad stuff comes out of them. And then look, all the good ones, good stuff comes out of there. The guy is sitting and he's watching a movie. And the movie is obviously a goyish movie or whatever, and is something which is not sneers coming on, and he doesn't look. So he says, "Look at him." I mean, look at him. Yeah, Moshe Gross. Thank you very much for not looking at the schmutzadik stuff. Where were you until now? Well, wherever he was, he grabbed something out of the mud. It says this, no. A mitzvah. Bang! He got it. Because it says, yeah, but look how much you looked at and how much you didn't look at. Look at the. It doesn't matter. I caught a bad one and didn't let it linger. I caught a bad thought and I didn't let it linger. I pushed it away. You know something? I pushed it away 10%. I pushed it away 2%. I pushed it away 0.5%. It's simchas olam haroisha. What about the bad stuff? Well, the bad stuff is bad. But this is not why we're supposed to think, make a cheshbon, I'm good, I'm bad, whatever. Let the Kodesh Baruch Hu do that. Anybody who is into Avodas Hashem to any degree gets to the point where he realizes that when it comes to thinking of good stuff and bad stuff, whatever it is, I'm ultimately running around my tail. I'm chasing my tail. That's what I'm doing. I don't know if I do bad stuff because I feel bad about myself. I don't know if I feel bad about myself because I do bad stuff. And it becomes a vicious circle. I don't know. At a certain point in time, when you have a yeshiva das and avodas Hashem, you just stop and you say, listen, I don't care. I don't care. For now, okay? Let's put aside the fact whether I am a tzaddik, that I belong in Eden right next to Moshe Rabbeinu, or chas v'chalila, I'm a hefech, and I don't know whatever it is. Like, I'm the worst person ever. Whatever, let's put this aside for a minute. Let's put the whole question, Gan Eden, let's put the whole thing aside. What can I do to stop the slide? What can I do to stop the schneid? We can't let it go on like that. It's your cover, Ribono Shel Olam. I have to stop this. That is Avodas Hashem. His minhag was, he was always besimcha, because this is Avodas Hashem. You are busy all the time with Avodas Hashem. So the minute that what does it mean you're busy? All the time means even 1% out of 1,000. 1 promille out of 1,000. 1/millionth of the time. It comes to you are part of you are in it. You don't know what is facing you. You don't know what kind of difficulties are standing on your way. You have no idea what forces are blocking you and trying to make you give up. You have no idea. Chop the good stuff. You're in the game. You're having a good game, a bad game, it doesn't matter. You're in the game. If you're in the game, if you only have a nakuda, if you just have a single point in your hand, remind yourself, I'm in the game. I'm in the game. Baruch Hashem. With this, you construct a minhag of being besimcha at any given moment in time. Baruch Hashem, we have Rabbeinu. Rabbeinu is not confined to a sefer. The Sfarim of Rabbeinu are the shoehorn that enables the tzaddik to get into us, into who we are. We are allowing the tzaddik to get in. The tzaddik is flowing in all the meridians of the body. Rabbeinu says the Anova Moshe Rabbeinu is every single limb of a Jew. This is what's going to be standing up to Tchias HaMesim. Rabbeinu is in us. And Rabbeinu is the only tzaddik who says, Simchu al koichi al godol. You may depend on my great strength. No other tzaddik ever said that. so much davening. We have to do so much davening, and we can do a minute there, a second here, a second there. Please allow me to lean on Rabbeinu's koyach, to strengthen Rabbeinu's koyach. And like this, slowly but surely, you build yourself a minhag to be besimcha. And when you are besimcha, then, as we say, you can have all the food and drinks in the world, as we will learn with Hashem next week. But Hashem should help us. We will stop here, Birshuschem, and we will continue Wednesday evening. We're learning Torah Chaf Beis here. Thursday night we are learning Ikut Gemara Torah Lamed Daled in the Breslov Mesmedrash on Lachish. And Motzei Shabbos, obviously, we're coming out of Egypt. The Egyptians are, going to take a dip. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to go tomorrow, get Shabbos, and such tremendous, tremendous stuff. So thank you so very much for coming. Be matzliach with everything that you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.